People, your next witness, please.
The people call Rhona Graff.
Witness entering courtroom. Step this way, remain standing, raise your right hand and face the clerk. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you are going to give before this court and jury shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Do you so swear or affirm?
I do. Rhona Graff, called as a witness on behalf of the people, was duly sworn by the clerk of the court, upon being examined, testified as follows.
Have a seat. State your name, spelling your last name.
Rhona Graff, last name Graff.
County of residence?
New York County.
Good afternoon, you may inquire.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Graff. Are you currently employed?
No, I'm not.
Were you previously employed?
Yes, I was.
For what company were you previously employed?
The Trump Organization.
And how many years did you work for the Trump Organization?
34 years.
And approximately when did you start working for the Trump Organization?
I believe it was October of 1987.
When, approximately, did you stop working for the Trump Organization?
In April of 2021.
What were your titles at the Trump Organization?
When I initially started, I was an executive assistant. And then over the years, it evolved into senior executive. Then I eventually became assistant to the president and senior vice president.
Who was the president of the Trump Organization at that time during the 34 years that you worked there?
Donald J. Trump.
What was your understanding about who owned the Trump Organization companies during those 34 years that you worked there?
Donald J. Trump.
And who did you work directly for at the Trump Organization?
Mr. Trump.
Now, did you work out of the offices of the Trump Organization at Trump Tower here in New York?
That's correct.
And where was your office located in Trump Tower?
Well, the address was 725 Fifth Avenue, and my office was on the 26th floor.
Where was your office or your desk in relation to Mr. Trump's office?
Well, over time it changed. You know, initially when I started, I sat outside his office. There are a few desks out there. When I was promoted to a senior position, I had my own office, which was right next door to his office.
During approximately the years of 2015 to 2017, was there an executive team of assistants who worked to support Mr. Trump's work at the Trump Organization?
Yes, there was.
When you were senior vice president, were you the most senior person in that group of executive assistants who supported his work?
Yes, I was.
Are you testifying here today pursuant to a subpoena?
Correct, yes, I am.
Do you have attorneys here with you today?
Yes, I do.
Their names are, who are they?
Pat Paletti and Brittany. I am sorry, her last name escapes me. I'm sorry, Brittany.
You have two attorneys here?
Yes, I do.
Who is paying for the attorneys?
The Trump Organization.
And who do you understand to be currently the owner of the Trump Organization?
Mr. Donald Trump.
Now, as Mr. Trump's executive assistant at the Trump Organization, was one of your duties and responsibilities entering Mr. Trump's calendar appointments into the Trump Organization's computer system?
That's correct.
Did you input Mr. Trump's calendar appointments into the computer program called Outlook?
Yes, I did.
Were you the main person in charge of maintaining Mr. Trump's calendar for the most part?
For the most part, it was me.
Now, as Mr. Trump's executive assistant at the Trump Organization, was one of your duties and responsibilities also entering and maintaining Mr. Trump's contacts in the Trump Organization's computer system?
That is correct.
Did you input Mr. Trump's contacts into a computer program at the Trump Organization also called Outlook?
Yes, I did.
Now, did Mr. Trump's contacts include information such as phone numbers and addresses for people in his life that he wanted to be able to contact?
That is correct.
And did you enter Mr. Trump's contacts into that computer system at the Trump Organization from about as early as 2004?
I believe that is correct.
As Mr. Trump's executive assistant at the Trump Organization, was one of your duties and responsibilities also to send and receive emails related to Mr. Trump's work and his business?
Yes, I did.
And did you do that using a Trump Organization email address?
Yes.
Do you recall what your Trump Organization email address was?
Yes, it was rgraff@trump.org.com.
Did you use that email address at the Trump Organization to conduct business for Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization?
Yes, I did.
Did Mr. Trump use or communicate by email during the years that you worked for him as an executive assistant?
Not that I can recall.
Ms. Graff, I am going to hand you a thumb drive or ask the officer to hand you a thumb drive. Now, the officer is handing you a thumb drive containing the following People's Exhibits marked for identification. People's Exhibits 68, 69, 69B, 70, 71, 73, 75, and 76 for identification, as well as People's Exhibits 82 and 83 for identification, and People's Exhibit 85 for identification. Now, before testifying here today, did you have an opportunity to review the exhibits that I just mentioned contained on that thumb drive?
Yes, I did.
How do you know that you reviewed those exhibits on the thumb drive?
I dated and initialed it.
Do those exhibits, at least some of them, contain redactions of some personal information?
Yes, they did.
Did you also review and compare the same exhibits without the redactions?
Yes.
Were those two sets of exhibits the same except for the redactions?
Yes.
Do those exhibits that I just mentioned include emails to and from you and an individual named Madeline Westerhout in the year 2017 using your Trump.org email address?
Yes.
Does it also contain Mr. Trump's contacts? Some of Mr. Trump's contacts from the Trump Organization Outlook computer system for Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels?
Yes.
And do those exhibits also include some calendar entries from the Trump Organization Outlook computer system from January of 2017?
That is correct.
And I am going to direct your attention now to the emails, which are People's Exhibits 68, 69, 69B, 70, 71, 73, 75, and 76 for identification. Do you recognize those emails as emails that you sent or received from Madeline Westerhout during the dates and times reflected on those emails?
Are they supposed to show up on the screen?
Not yet. They're the ones that you reviewed?
Yes, correct.
Who was Madeline Westerhout?
She was Mr. Trump's assistant, executive assistant, when he went to the White House.
That was her job at the time of these emails in 2017?
That is my understanding.
And did you send to and receive from Ms. Westerhout these emails as part of the regular course of your work at the Trump Organization for Mr. Trump?
Yes, I did.
And did you send and receive those using your Trump Organization email address?
Correct.
And was it part of the regular course of your work at the Trump Organization for you to send and receive those emails?
Yes, it was.
And were you under a business duty to do so accurately?
I was.
Now, during the year 2017, were you aware that the Trump Organization maintained a server that hosted its emails?
Yes.
Do those servers capture information associated with emails, including the to, the from, the date, and the time sent?
Yes, they did.
Was that information generally accurately contained in the header of each of the emails?
Yes, they were.
Did you expect that information to be accurately recorded in the email system in the Trump Organization?
Yes.
Were those emails and their headers captured and maintained on the Trump Organization server in the ordinary course of business of the Trump Organization?
Yes, correct.
And were the emails that you reviewed contained in these exhibits to be the standard Trump Organization email format, including the headers to, from, date, and time sent?
Yes.
Now, with respect to the exhibits, People's Exhibits 82 and 83 for identification, which of those contacts did you recognize to be Mr. Trump's contact for Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels that were entered into and maintained in the Trump Organization Outlook computer system?
Yes, I did.
And now, I just want to direct your attention to the last exhibit, which is People's Exhibit 85 for identification. Did you recognize those to be calendar entries for Mr. Trump for various dates between January 16th and January 19th of 2017 that were entered into and maintained in the Trump Organization Outlook computer system?
Yes, I did.
And for each of these various types of records that we just discussed that you reviewed, emails, contacts, and calendar entries, were each of those generated in the regular and ordinary course of business of the Trump Organization?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Was it part of the business of the Trump Organization to make and keep each of those records?
Yes, it was.
Were those entries in those records made at or close to the time of the transactions or events to which they relate?
Yes, they were.
Were the person or persons who made those records under a business duty to do so accurately?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, I offer into evidence People's Exhibits 68, 69, 698, 70, 71, 73, 75, 16, 82, and 83 and 85.
Any objection?
No objection.
Those exhibits are accepted into evidence.
Whereupon Exhibits 68, 69, 698, 70, 71, 73, 75, 76, 82, 83, and 85 were received into evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor. I can take the thumb drive back. Can we now put up, which is in evidence, I would like to see People's Exhibit 82. That will come up on your screen. So showing you People's Exhibit 82. Can you please explain to the jury what this is?
It's an entry in contacts for Karen McDougal, and it lists her. It's redacted, but it lists her business phone number, business address, and email address. And then there is a notation for an old address.
So is there a total of 2 physical addresses listed?
Yes.
And a cell phone number and an email address?
Correct.
Did you create this contact for Karen McDougal in the Trump Organization's computer system for Mr. Trump?
I believe I did.
You can take that down now. Can we please show for everyone People's Exhibit 83, also in evidence? Can you please tell the jury what that is on your screen?
An entry in our contact system for Stormy Daniels. I believe it contains her mobile phone number.
And you said you understand this to be a contact for Stormy Daniels. Is that right?
Correct.
Did you create this contact for Stormy Daniels in the Trump Organization's computer system for Mr. Trump?
I believe I did.
You can take that down now. Thank you. Now, did you on one occasion see Stormy Daniels physically waiting in the reception area of the offices of Trump Tower?
I have a vague recollection of seeing her in the reception area on the 26th floor.
And did you see her at that time prior to Mr. Trump running for president beginning in 2015?
To the best of my recollection, yes.
And when you saw her at Trump Tower, did you know at that time that she was an adult film actress?
Yes, I did.
Now I'm going to ask you to take a look at. Please put up for everyone People's Exhibit 85 in evidence, displayed. Can you tell us what this is?
An entry in the electronic appointment calendar dated January 17, 2017 at 1 p.m.
I apologize. Is this page 1? Without blowing it up, let me ask you a general question about this exhibit. There are a number of calendar entries in this exhibit?
Correct.
Are these documents contained in this exhibit calendar entries for Mr. Trump from approximately the dates of January 16th to January 19th of 2017?
Correct.
If we could please put up page 6. Can you tell us what this document reflects?
Tease a notation in the Trump Organization appointment calendar, the executive folder, for a teleprompter practice session on the 25th floor of Trump Tower on January 16, 2017 at 10 a.m. And does this show that Mr. Trump was working at Trump Tower on January 16, 2017? I believe it reflects that.
Can we just put up page 10 of the same exhibit, please? Blow it up. Can you tell us what this reflects?
It reflects an appointment that was scheduled with Ainsley Earhart from Fox & Friends, taking place on the 25th floor at Trump Tower on January 17, 2017 at 9 a.m.
Do you believe you entered this calendar entry in the Trump calendar?
Yes.
Does this show that Donald Trump was working at Trump Tower on January 17, 2017?
It should reflect that.
Can we show page 1? What does this document show?
Another entry in the appointment calendar for a teleprompter practice session on the 25th floor in Trump Tower on January 17, 2017 at 1 p.m.
It also shows Mr. Trump was working at Trump Tower on January 17, 2017.
Correct.
Can we show page 5, please? What does this calendar entry show?
This reflects an appointment made for a Michael Allen Perhope Hicks for a photo shoot for the Washington Post. That was to take place on the 25th floor lobby area of Trump Tower. And the date was January 17, 2017 at 12:30.
Do you know who Hope Hicks is?
Yes, I do.
Who was she?
She was the communications person for the campaign.
Does this calendar entry also show that Mr. Trump was working at Trump Tower on January 17, 2017?
Yes, it does.
Can we show page 2, please? What does this calendar entry show?
It refers to another teleprompter practice session on the 25th floor conference room at Trump Tower on January 18, 2017 at 1 p.m.
Does this show that Mr. Trump was still working at Trump Tower during the day on January 17, 2017?
Yes, it does.
What does this calendar entry show?
This denotes the time that Mr. Trump was departing Trump Tower en route to LaGuardia Airport on January 19, 2017 at 12:30.
Can we show page 4, please? Okay.
That denotes the anticipated wheels-up time from LaGuardia to D.C. Airport in Washington. That is for January 19, 2017 at 1 p.m.
Was January 19, 2017, the day before Mr. Trump's inauguration in Washington, D.C. on January 20th of 2017?
I believe it was.
Nothing further.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
Good afternoon.
You were asked on direct examination about working for President Trump, right?
Correct.
You worked for President Trump for 34 years. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What was it like working for President Trump?
I never had to do the same day twice in all that time. It was a very stimulating, exciting, just a fascinating place to be.
And was he a good boss?
I think that he was fair. And you know, he was fair and, what is the word I was looking for? A respectful boss to me in all that time.
He promoted you a number of times?
He did.
Gave you a lot of responsibility.
My responsibilities definitely evolved over the years when I was there. 10, A12, 13, 14, 16, A7, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
And he respected you, right?
Objection.
I'd like to think so.
Overruled.
Respected your intelligence?
I don't think I would have been there 34 years if he didn't.
What were your days like?
Again, every single day was different. That was part of why it was a very unusual place to be. There was no typical day, but I usually get there early in the morning before he came in. You know, kind of get his office ready for the day. You know, look at the calendar, see what was happening that day. You know, kind of anticipated what needed to be done. Those kinds of things.
And he was working on a whole variety of things, correct?
Always.
He was in the real estate business, right?
Right. It evolved from when I started. It was primarily real estate when I started, and through the years it evolved into many businesses.
He wrote books?
Right. Many books. Obviously he entered into the television realm when The Apprentice started, sports, you know, in many areas.
A lot of licensing deals?
Licensing deals, right? Once The Apprentice came along. The licensing division became a big part of the company.
Lots of speaking engagements?
Correct.
Political fundraisers?
Correct.
And you helped with all those things, right?
I did.
Your discussions with President Trump, were they solely about business?
99.9% of the time.
Did you discuss things other than business, your family?
On occasion. On occasion, he would ask me, "How is your family doing?" Sometimes, if it was a long day in the office, I appreciated it. He poked his head in and would say, "Go home to your family." It was very thoughtful of him. I didn't always go because I wouldn't get up and leave, but I thought it was a nice extra touch that he would think to do that.
Did President Trump invite you and your husband to his inauguration?
Yes, he did.
Did he arrange for you to sit up close?
I was on the platform. I don't think I was that close. I don't think I deserved to be that close, frankly. But it was an honor to be on the platform.
That was a special place to be sitting?
I'd say it was a pretty unique, memorable experience.
Now, you were asked on direct examination right now about Stormy Daniels, correct?
Right.
Am I correct that part of your job duties was to work with the producers of the TV show The Apprentice?
That was one of the things that I did, yes.
And President Trump was actively involved in producing The Apprentice, correct?
I'd say he was fairly hands-on, yes.
It was a very popular television show, right?
At the time, it was probably the most popular television show.
Am I correct that it brought many people to Trump Tower?
There was a lot of interest, you know, globally, nationally, internationally, about The Apprentice.
And it made President Trump into a big star, correct?
I think it elevated him to a whole other platform, from being primarily known as a businessman to being an entertainer. Almost at that point, you know, rock star status.
And he was constantly on the cover of magazines in that time period?
I think that's fair to say, yes.
And The Apprentice was a very profitable show for President Trump?
Your Honor, I'm going to object at this point.
Sustained.
During that time period, with respect to Stormy Daniels, President Trump was very involved in and interested in finding contestants for The Apprentice, correct?
I think so. More when it involved Celebrity Apprentice than he was in the initial few years of it.
What was Celebrity Apprentice?
When the show officially began, they put out a kind of general casting call for people to be on the show. So it was just regular people that wanted to apply and be on television. And then I think they were looking for a new format as the years went on, kind of bring new juice to the show, and they decided now to make it the Celebrity Apprentice. So instead of other cast members, they would bring in well-known people, really well-known people, to join the cast.
Celebrity Apprentice began in 2007, is that correct?
I believe so.
And during that time period, President Trump would talk constantly about what celebrities would be good to cast on that show, right?
I think he took a good interest in it.
He would talk about that with you, right?
With me and many of the other people in the office.
And you understood that he wanted celebrities who were colorful or interesting people to be on that show, right?
I think that's a smart casting choice, yes.
That's what he would talk about, right?
He would when we were talking about casting, yes.
He wanted people who were controversial sometimes, right?
Some maybe more than others.
That was because President Trump believed about having controversial people.
I'm going to object at this time.
Sustained.
Can we approach?
Yes.
Whereupon the following proceedings were held at sidebar.
This is going way beyond the scope of the direct. I let it go for a little while, but this is the basis of my objection.
I agree.
She asked about Stormy Daniels coming up. Stormy Daniels came up there because she was being cast.
So ask him the question.
1 second.
To get to that, I have to explain President Trump was very involved in that. Our whole defense, or a lot of our defense in this case, is he was involved with Stormy Daniels over The Apprentice. She knows directly about that. They asked on direct about Stormy Daniels coming up to the office and being in the cast. That's why they called her.
They asked a couple of questions about that. You're going really far afield. Why don't you ask?
I have to talk about The Apprentice so they understand.
Get to it.
Can I have a little latitude?
I think you already had a little latitude.
Whereupon the following proceedings were held in open court.
Am I correct? You would often hear President Trump talking on the phone with people who were interested in being on The Apprentice?
Objection.
Sustained.
Well, his office was right next to yours, right?
Well, I could not hear. There was a big wall behind us, and I couldn't hear him on the phone unless it was very loud.
Okay, but you heard discussions about him discussing about people being on The Apprentice, right?
He would vocalize sometimes people that he was interested in to members of the staff, you know, and I would overhear it. I don't recall him saying directly to me, but it was discussed.
Am I correct that prior to Stormy Daniels coming up to the office at Trump Tower, you recall hearing President Trump discuss whether Stormy Daniels would be a good contestant?
I vaguely recall hearing him say that she was one of the people that may be an interesting contestant on the show.
Okay, and the prosecutor just referred to her, I think, as an adult film actress, correct?
Yes.
And you understood that to mean that she was, colloquially speaking, a porn star, right?
I'd say that's a good synonym for it.
And you knew she was a porn star because you had heard discussions about her, right?
Yes.
And you had heard President Trump say that he thought she would be an interesting addition to The Apprentice, correct?
I can't recall a specific instance when I heard it. It was part of the office chatter.
And when Stormy Daniels showed up to Trump Tower to meet President Trump, you understood that she was there to discuss being cast for The Apprentice, correct?
I assumed that.
And I understand your assumption was based on the discussions you had heard, the office chatter, right?
Correct.
Now, some of the exhibits, one of the exhibits that you were shown is People's Exhibit 73. Can we pull that up? It's in evidence. You saw this before, correct?
FedEx label. Yes, Federal Express.
That was a FedEx label that you had requested?
No, yes, I guess it was requested by Madeleine Westerhout.
That was because you were sending checks down to the White House?
No, I don't know why she requested it.
Okay. Were you involved at all in sending checks down to the White House once President Trump?
No, I was not.
Okay, but when you were President Trump's assistant, one of the things that he would do was sign checks, right?
Yes, of course, yes.
And am I correct that when he would sign checks, he was often multitasking?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
It happened on occasion. It would depend what was going on at the moment and how important the checks were that needed to be signed.
Okay, but you would often see him on the phone when he was signing checks?
I believe it happened. It wasn't unusual.
And he would also sign checks when he was meeting with other people, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
One of the exhibits is People's Exhibit 7, correct? If you could pull that up. Page 1 is a memo. You see that in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Can we look at page 2 also? It's a newspaper article, right?
Correct.
Madeleine Westerhout. Who is Madeleine Westerhout?
She was the executive assistant in the White House. Mr. Trump's, President Trump's.
And she sent you this and asked you to send this newspaper article to Alan Weisselberg, right?
Correct.
It was a common practice of President Trump to clip articles like this, correct?
I don't know when he was at the White House how common it was, but certainly when he was at the Trump Organization, it was very common.
He would send them to various people, right?
Yes.
He would often write a little note on the article, right?
Often.
So President Trump sending an article to Alan Weisselberg was not at all unusual, right?
No.
During the time you were working for him, you saw him send thousands of articles to people, correct?
Over the time period I was there, I would say that's reasonable.
And you were asked on direct examination also about whether the Trump Organization was paying your legal fees, correct?
I believe so.
And you met with the prosecutor a number of times before testifying here today?
Yes, I did.
And the only reason you're here testifying today because you worked at the Trump Organization, right?
I believe so.
You have nothing personal to add to this, right?
I can't believe I do, no.
You don't want to be here, do you?
Correct.
And lawyers are expensive, aren't they?
I haven't seen the bills, but I assume they are.
And you understand the Trump Organization is paying for the lawyers for all of the employees, right?
That is my understanding.
And that's because they're all only here because...
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
No one. Is the payment of your legal fees conditioned at all on how you testify?
No, that's not my understanding.
No one from the Trump Organization has told you how to testify, right?
Absolutely not.
You're just here testifying to the truth, right?
That's correct.
And the only reason your legal fees are being paid is because...
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Anything else?
Nothing, Your Honor.